Good night, viewers, and welcome to this another program of Advancing the Cause. This program comes to you every Wednesday night from 18:30 hours to 20 hours. The official host of this program is the Honorable Coretta McDonald, AAMP, and General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union. Miss McDonald is unavoidably absent tonight, and therefore I'm going to be the host for this program tonight. My name is Dennis Jaikran, and so we are going to deal with the topic tonight. But before I do that, I want to tender an apology for the absence of the Honorable Coretta McDonald from this program tonight. Our topic tonight is things continue to fall apart. Things continue to fall apart. Viewers, you would recall that time and again, we would have always indicated to you that as soon as a program would have been concluded and by the rise of another program, we receive very many phone calls, letters, requests, information, and sometimes we receive the topic that we should speak on. And so tonight is no different because we would have been able to solicit and also receive pieces of information that we want to bring to the public. Those of you who are viewers on this program. Hence, tonight, we would have been directed to so craft the topic, things continue to fall apart. This presentation tonight will focus on education matters or issues, health matters, incomplete projects 2024 based on allocations and or allotments, failure of paid state agencies to perform legal and constitutional duties, cash grants, school grants, rice farmers grants, fisherfolk grants. Auditor General report, performance of sub-treasury officers, and we are going to deal with a number of general issues. Viewers, please recall that on very many of these programs, we try to focus on issues and matters that are sent to us. And because these matters and issues are so voluminous, we have to take time to be able to select, as we would have done on each program, those that are very topical, so to speak. And we need to discuss these things. So as it relates to education matter, despite the fact school would have been closed, some of our teachers and our head teachers would have asked us to look at the guidelines in relation to graduation and other school-based activities. And so when we ask the question, how is it this is important? And the answer to that would have been that in some of these schools, secondary schools, that there is a demand for between $15,000 to $20,000 from each student to be graduated, having completed their secondary education. As a matter of fact, he said. And so there would have been pouring in of requests for us to speak on the issue. And so I want to very quickly touch on the issue tonight because there is a circular, and I'm going to point some areas in the circular. I'm going to be very brief with these points. The circular is 6 of 2012, and it's from the Chief Education Officer, dated 1st October 2012, and the subject is guidelines in relation to graduation and other school-based activities. And it would have been signed by the then Chief Education Officer. And so the 4 major issues on this circular would have been, 1, the amount that parents would need to contribute for the graduation exercise, which says should not exceed $3,000. Please note that said contribution as for can be lower than $3,000. So that is point number 1. You see, we are bringing these things to you because it might look as though it is insignificant, but it is telling on the pockets of our parents who can hardly afford to send their children to school. And it says children should be encouraged or students to wear their respective uniforms for graduation. No student should be required to rent or purchase caps and gowns for graduation. Such costs where necessary, should be borne by the school. No student should be barred from any school-based graduation activities as a result of non-payment of fees. And then it says here teachers indulging in acts that contravene this circular would be placed before the disciplinary committee of the Teaching Service Commission. It further says any education officer found guilty of condoning the head teacher's illegal behavior will also be disciplined by the Public Service Commission. And so this is clear and straightforward as it is. And we would have decided that we are going to find the legal document, which is a circular, and to give this advice to our parents and those in the education system what should be the operational procedures. We are told that many persons were barred from attending these graduation exercises because of the amount of money that was requested of them to pay, and they were not in a financial position to pay such sums of money. And therefore, we are complying with the request of the viewers. So that is point number one. We want to deal with the circular also, excuse me, as it relates to school canteen, because it is becoming disgusting, as some of the viewers would have said to us, as it relates to school canteen. But there is a position paper that you call it from the Education Systems Committee. And in that position paper, a number of areas would have been identified. And then there is a study review of the management arrangement for school canteens, the objectives, the scope of work, source document to be checked for, arrangements by school, arrangements by the service provider, canteen statistics. These things are stated in a policy document that came out of the Education Systems Committee, the ESC, a position paper on the operations of school canteen. But the question is, or what we would have been told, that there would have been one person having the opportunity over a number of years to operate canteens at different schools. And so that canteen committee, one, was not formed. Two, there would have been no public advertisement as said. The third thing is that the persons operating these canteens do not have food handlers certificate. And those are three important things: the canteen committee, public advertisement, food handler certificate. There is something called about the statistics, all these things. And these things would not have been happening. And so it is casting the blame on our head teachers, despite the fact they might not be responsible. And so we have to, based on what would have been told to us, that we should be able to bring that to your attention. So the document is there, and we are willing to share that document. Well, both documents, one as it relates to the school canteen, and the second one, guidelines in relation to the graduation and other school-based activities. The third point in education is that this has been a sore point. And I'm going to name the school and I'm going to name the region because it is no allegation that from the Cooperative Thrift Society Let me put the alleged situation. From a particular primary school in Region 2, $7 million disappeared from the co-op society, allegedly. It is further alleged that this teacher who was involved is no more on the work, meaning that the teacher would have retired. The other allegation would have been that some payments would have been made, but not by the teacher. But the teacher continues, it is alleged, to receive retirement benefits. Mind you, not all are the children of that part, the pupils of that particular school, because it is a primary school, would have had an opportunity to receive. If whoever choose then to repay for that teacher, they are part and parcel of a fraudulent scheme. And that should not be tolerated. But maybe because of who this teacher is, because it is further alleged that his entire family, none of whom have any technical idea of any aspect of construction, are given large contracts in Region 2. It is further alleged that none of these contracts, when assessed and evaluated, would have reached any level to pass it, so to speak, for payment. But it had to be done because there were instructions, it is alleged, given for payments to be done for work that was poorly done. Bad quality, bad standard, falling apart, as the topic would have said. Falling apart. But do you see the match? The teacher could not have accounted, it is alleged, for $7 million of the Cooperative Society funds. That family is now receiving. It is further alleged that one of the family members, although past the age of retirement, 60 years, the second stage of retirement, is still in the employ of a government corporation. Things continue to fall apart. So we're bringing these things to your attention. We want to touch base. The year is coming to an end. Another year is coming to an end. And in 2023, under the line item 6241, rental of buildings under education in Region 2, there was an allotment of $12 million. A number of questions. Was this money spent? Which building it was spent on for rental? Where is the location of this building? What was the purpose of renting this building? Why is it the Redo or the officers of the Rexo is still not being held accountable for this $12 million as appropriated in 2023 under 6241 rental of buildings? That was not stated anywhere in the Auditor General's report. And why is it the Auditor General is covering up this kind of corruption? And this might only be for one that would have been identified in Region 2. But in very many other regions, the same things might have occurred. And so this is cause for concern. This is an issue that we are bringing to the attention of the public. And we are repeating this topic over and over. Things continue to fall apart. I have before me here a graduation booklet that was sent to me by someone from one of these technical vocational institutions. And in that booklet, you had a number of persons given messages, written messages. And the senior lecturer, the message that was given by the senior lecturer for that particular TechVoc institution is questionable. Every line had at least one mistake, either spelling, punctuation, subject and verb agreement, sentence construction, or something. But I kind of inquired from some persons. You see why we are bringing this to you? It is more than one of these things happening, but we are pointing out so that you have examples. That a senior lecturer is a secondary school dropout. And I don't know, some person said to me that he's not a fighter based on what I was told to me. What he's good at is undermining. And people listen to him. I understand the other day he graduated from CPC after being a senior lecturer from CPC with an associate degree, equivalent to trained teacher certificate. And the gentleman doesn't know what he received and telling the public that he received a degree. We are bringing this to your attention to say that things continue to fall apart. Mind you, it is further alleged in the education system that for the TechVoc areas or institutions, that there has been no meeting of minds of these heads of TechVoc institution. And since it is alleged, and you can conclude that it didn't happen, no meeting, the question is, or the questions are, one, for sums of money allocated for or appropriated for the conduct of these meetings? If yes, why these meetings were not held? If yes, where this money went to? These are serious questions. Auditor General, these are serious questions. Because the Office of the Auditor General, sorry to say the Office of the Auditor General and all the sub offices or the regional office, whatever you call them, were very busy during the period 2015 to 2020. And still after 2020, they were still finding time to investigate and find out, despite the fact they were there monitoring during the period 2015 and 20, still trying to find labels for those who served in offices. Why is it? And how is it that this, if there would have been any appropriation, it would have been done? And the last thing about education that I want to talk about is this gold scholarship. Very many persons are given gold scholarships to pursue degrees from wherever there is a question to answer. But here it is. Those people who are given the opportunity to pursue gold scholarships to do a degree, they were not adequately qualified where they were employed at that time, had to move from place to place, even they were not employed for a period of time, but they came back in 2020 and would have been given gold scholarships, but still did not meet the requirement of the 5 CSEC, maths and English including grades 1 to 3, to be placed on the permanent. I am looking to see how is it the basic requirements would not have been met, but you are providing an opportunity for these persons to now allow themselves to get these degrees without being able to qualify themselves for permanency or the pensionable in the public service. These are some of the matters, brief as it is, as it relates to education. But I'm going to come back later on to deal with that same allegation of the teacher that allows $7 million from the cooperative society to disappear, and the family circle that is now being given big contracts in this region and other regions, so that we can understand that things continue to fall apart. Let us now turn our attention very quickly to some health issues. One, I want to make a clarification on this thing, because it would appear that somebody somewhere cannot conceptualize geographical areas. There is presently a hospital being constructed in Coffee Grove, Eskimo Coast, Region 2. I'm going to tell you about the land story just now. But there's a big label there. The location meaning Lima. It is not. It could have only been Lima if by chance there was an existing hospital here in the same village, and then it went to another village, like some schools, like Lenora Secondary. That building was there in Lenora proper, but a secondary school is now in Edinburgh. And so the name of the school would have remained. I'm giving an example to show there was no hospital in Lima. So how can you move and say Lima Hospital, but in Coffee Grove? This is misleading information to our young people. Very misleading. As it relates to the land, if you want to use the term bartering, it can be used, but there would have been an inequality as it relates to the bartering. And how do I put it? Maybe it can be 2 acres as compensatory for 25 acres. Sort it out and let us see. And who is the person benefiting from such a situation? This program would have been told. And from that allegation, it is said that a senior health personnel is establishing an industrial area somewhere between Golden Fleece and Colin, a senior health official. It is further alleged that very many persons who are employed of the Department of Health in not only Region 2 but other regions are busy not doing their own work as paid for by the state, but they are busy doing contracts and supplies, neglecting the people of health services and duties. And it is further alleged because when they want to make up that time, that they tell them when to go to the clinic or whatever. And it is not only in this region, one region. Our information is that this same scenario spreads across the different regions in this country. Mind you, it is alleged that there is a situation at West Demerara Regional Hospital where you have 3 hospital administrators. And if any person would want to debunk this program, what we are saying here, the information, let them prove otherwise. Because the information came to this program from reliable sources in Region 3. And so the Auditor General, I'm calling the Office of the Auditor General out. Because when you deal with your staff entitlement, the staff inventory, I hope that that would be something that is going to be flagged in the audit report of 2024. Because we are taking note of these things. And when these things do not happen, when it ought to happen, then we are going to bring it again to the public interest. But we are told, this program is told, that not too long from now, there's going to be no more West Demerara Regional Hospital located in Best. Best means Best Village. Because it is alleged that the land is sold or it is about to be sold. So this program, we want persons to know what are the allegations. Maybe when the hospital goes to our next location, we would not have the rats that are running around the place, chasing the doctors and the nurses, resting side by side on the bed with our patients. Because right in that region, one of the top administrators is a secondary school dropout, a total failure. So what do you expect? And so we are bringing this to the attention of persons as it relates to this program from reliable sources would have been advised that there are undesirable transactions taking place in different regions as it relates to what is happening in the health services. So further we say not, but if we are pressed to make the pronouncement of it and the information we have allegedly, we might be forced to do that. But mind me, we do not put anything in writing. We depend on our memory. We rely on memory. And so if we forget, then we might have to try to remind ourselves. But there's nothing in writing that we have as these allegations come to us. And so we have to be able to take note of that deal. You know, the Charles Rosa School of Nursing in Region 10 was closed. Was closed. Is still closed. But it happened that in Region 2, nurses are now being trained on a nursing program. It is alleged that of 23 nurses, maybe in a particular batch, 17 out of these nurses, it is alleged, failed to make the requirement for graduation. Forget about those nurses who did not meet the requirements because they are living in. And if they are living in, then it has to be that they were not properly guided. But note this, it is alleged that a failed senior teacher in a secondary school, now retired, is heading that nursing program. So what do you expect? The failure is on the part of those nurses, or the failure is on the part of the person who has no speck of health training and is there to coordinate the nursing program. It is alleged. We are bringing these things to the attention of the public to advise you that things continue to fall apart. And so, as long as we continue with that there, we are going to be in a very, very serious situation as it relates to that. We want to now turn our attention very quickly to incomplete projects. Throughout this country, in every region, in every ministry, in many agencies and organizations that receive subventions from the government, at the end on the 15th of December, which was the other day, 15th of December, I understand it is alleged that as a total 65% of capital works would have been completed. 65%. If you go across this country, different regions, you would recognize that in health, education, agriculture, public works, all these areas, that there are very many incomplete areas. The dormitory facilities at LTI is in shambles. And what would have been done up to now, we come to the topic, things continue to fall apart. Things continue to fall apart. And so we are bringing this to your attention, and students from areas in the Borbis River, the Upper Demerara River, areas on the Linden-Soesdijk Highway cannot have access to a technical education because there is foot dragging on the completion of the Linden Technical Institute dormitory facilities. The idea of having a dormitory at Linden Technical Institute came about when I was the principal of that institution. And so it was only during the period 2015 to 20, somewhere there about, that that proposal was accepted and was put in action. But late in the period 2020 or 19 thereabout, and could not have been completed. Foot dragging as it is. And so we need to look at that as an incomplete project as it relates to it is alleged that the dormitory facilities at the SKO Technical Institute in the design stages, and right there, that school dropout person who became senior lecturer was busy. There's no dining area for those students. So when they receive their meals, they either go back to their room, they go somewhere next to some fence or sit somewhere to have their meals. That is the situation at the Esquibo Technical Institute. And these allegations would have been made by the parents who have children going there. And they indicated that this is a very sad state of affairs because these children come from Bartica, Region 7, parts of Region 2, and parts of Region 1. And they are away from their home, and that is how they are treated. No dining area. No dining area. And right at the Escobar Technical Institute, that these same parents or resource persons would have indicated that there are a number of incomplete buildings and projects over the past 3, 4 years. And these children, their students there continue to suffer because of these incomplete projects on those um, buildings there, maybe 3 or 4 of them. Let us now turn our attention to the area of failed paid state employees to carry out legal and constitutional duties. You will recall, viewers, that on this program for the past couple of months, we would have been harping on the fact that there is, I'm going to spread it just now, that there is an illegal and unauthorized workshop, mechanical workshop in a residential area. Add to that now. Since we spoke about that on so many occasions, we would have received information that more such illegal and unauthorized workshops are operating in other residential areas. It was further alleged and brought to our attention that on the East Coast, that this matter reached the public, meaning more persons would have been involved in it, know about it. But in this particular one that I'm talking about, there is a deafening silence as it relates to paid state employees, and I'm going to call the status in terms of the status and the agency, who are receiving money under false pretense, state money as salaries and not performing their duties. And I'm going to explain. NIS. Under the laws, once there is persons employed, there must be two kinds of payments: the employer's NIS contribution and the employee's NIS contribution. None of this is happening there. General Manager of NIS, if you are listening, if you have your cohorts and persons listening, know that you and your officers are all failures and are very selective as it relates to your doing and your means. The evidence is there, and you are failing to act on the evidence as a paid state employee. Our money you are receiving and not functioning. GRE, the Commissioner General, you are sitting on our money, receiving state money, the people's money, taxpayers' money, and you're failing. You're failing to comply with the situation, because it would require that any person that is in receipt of revenue ought to pay some of that to NIS. I'm sorry, GRE. And since May of this year, you, Commissioner General, would have been receiving letters every single month, and you fail to comply. You fail to do your legal and constitutional duty. And you should be called out for that now. Minister of Labor, you are a servant of the people. You are a servant of the people. And you would have been receiving letters since May, and you didn't have the Welcome back, viewers. We had some technical difficulties. We would have been able to rectify that. And so we are on again. So we were talking, or we are on the point of this establishment of this unauthorized and illegal mechanical workshop in a residential area, causing dust, noise, and chemical pollution. And we're saying that agencies, paid state agencies, and employees are receiving money under false pretense. And I spoke about NIS. I spoke about GRA. And I was at the point in which I was making reference to the Minister of Labor, who received numerous letters in relation to this situation. and fail even to issue one line of acknowledgement. I want to say to the Minister of Labor that you are a servant of the people and you are not a Caesar or God unto anyone. And therefore, you have to respond to the call of people when they are in crisis and situation. And so, we are bringing it to your attention that there is right now child labor there, that there is right now all aspect, breaking of every aspect of the occupational safety and health regulations, the act, so to speak. But if anything should happen, then you would be held accountable. GPL. GPL would have been issued letters since May also as it relates to alleged illegal connections, meaning that there is connection for domestic consumption and a speed, but there would have been industrial consumption, welding, all sorts of these things going on at this particular illegal and mechanical workshop. Sparks time and again. It is only Guyana Fire Service. You ought to take note of this because it is going to be serious when a fire would have broken out in this community. And GPL should also take note of, as well as fire service, that there are a number of illegal connections, it is alleged. That is why you have low voltage. It is also alleged that there are very many bypasses away from the main meter. And so these things are brought to the attention. And so the world would know now, so that if anything should happen, then there is somebody somewhere along the line to be able to held account for. And the last one that is really responsible for this one, the noise, dust, and chemical pollution, the Environmental Protection Agency, the director, the executive director, all the members of staff, you are receiving state money. You are paid state employees. You are receiving taxpayers' money, and you are failing in your duties. You are failing in your duties. And whatever the result would be, the world would know that EPA would be held responsible. It is alleged that there are two situations already in Region 2, allegedly, one in death and one in a poultry, that EPA is still to take any action, it is alleged. So this program is bringing out this situation very forcefully, so that all would know and all would be able to have an opportunity to so understand what is happening. Now I want to turn because it is by popular. There is a particular pump station located at Henrietta in Region 2. The last time we spoke on this program, I indicated to you that there is some extension of that building, the pump station building, for residential, allegedly residential purposes. It is alleged that now there is construction work for commercial purposes. And you have not even 100 meters away from this same pump station where this same overaged person from this family that is getting government contract is working, passing there every day, and this is happening. Things continue to fall apart. Cash grant. But before I go to cash grant, let me make mention of this old age pension. Some time ago on this program, we made mention of persons who are not residing in this country and make themselves available, because I'm not speaking here with water in my mouth. I'm speaking what the law says. And the week before these pension books old age pension books are issued, they make their entry into the country, give an address in this country, as though they reside there and they were there for long periods, and they uplift their pension books, sign out every page on that pension book, leave it with their relatives and friends, go back to where they come from. Minister of Social Services, you know what the law says, and you are in breach of the law. Your officers are in breach of the law. You are providing books for persons who are not eligible for those books. Auditor General, you, the Office of the Auditor General, needs to take a clear and clean look at this here. Clear look at this here. I understand that this program would have been reliably informed. That last week, the books would have been shared, old age pension book. And when one of those overseas-based Guyanese went to collect that book, she clearly indicated to them that she was looking after her mother overseas. But they found out that her mother died years ago. And they further found out that this person is looking after somebody, but somebody in a home she's looking after. That is about the old age pension book. The next thing about this cash grant, the persons that were there also registered, because I understand somebody somewhere, I don't know who, I don't pay too much attention to it, but it is alleged that registration would have been done for those persons who came from overseas to collect their pension books, their old age pension book, and some of them would have been told that this week the $100,000 would be paid to them, and they are still waiting in Guyana to collect that, despite the fact they have old people to go and look after overseas. They are waiting for that $100,000. Let us look and see what is happening. But the process of registration is very selective as it relates to this payment of this cash grant of $100,000. Very discriminatory, as it was discriminatory in the COVID cash grant, and the other cash grant that would have been paid selectively to persons. And we made mention of this program that it was so discriminatory that in some homes, every single person, grandparents, parents, children, pets, every single one, if they went by a name, they received. They received. And the same thing would happen, mind you, for this $100,000. Those who are still at school would have age at 18 at the payment of this. Look and see what would happen. Look and see what would happen with this cash grant. School grant. Auditor General, you need to look across this country as it relates to the payment, the spending of school grants, the purchases that are made, the differences in prices of items from the same store but to different schools. Let the officers of the Auditor General Office take a keen look at what is happening there. But we want to call out again on this program for transparency, for accountability, for public knowledge. Let those agencies and ministries that are responsible for the distribution of these grants, starting from the COVID-19 cash grant, publish the names of those persons who receive, the amount they receive, and this is all the grants, the names of the persons, the amount they receive, the location or address of these persons, and the ID card number. Do that. Let us see how fair you are. Let us see how fair you are. Because these things are serious. It is accounted for state money, the people's money. And I want to make it bold and clear tonight on this program, as all of us would know that every single cent that is being paid to persons in this country coming out of the treasury, it is not the PPP money. It is state money. It is our money, the people's money. And therefore, if any amount is to be paid, we all should have the same, not only preference, but we should all have the same access to state funds, and not do it in a way in which you hide and run in the nights and register persons, or you call them to different places. Open the story so that all would see, all would know, and all would benefit, because it is state money. It is the people's money. And once we have that, we are going to be able to say that, yes, we have done well. Auditor General report. The Auditor General report for the past couple of 2-3 years thereabout did not allow itself to deal with well, the first thing it would have been selected regions. And in some regions, nothing about accommodation for officers, teachers would have been stated. Nothing about advances, nothing about cash checks in the sub treasury, nothing about incomplete project, nothing about the retention of payments for projects, nothing about rollover projects, nothing about staff inventory. But for those regions that might have been targeted, those things were stated boldly. Stated boldly. Because we all know that persons that are or have outstanding advances, their names were never printed on any list. Persons who are not entitled to government quarters, whether furnished or unfurnished, furnished for the 12% and unfurnished for the 10%, never paid any sum of money. And they have gone so far in some of these regions to allow for persons who are not entitled for accommodation and residency. They pay their allegedly their utility bills, weeding and cleaning of their compound, and all sorts of these things that they ought to do by themselves. But again, things continue to fall apart. Things continue to get worse. And some sit on the thrones while others do not benefit in any way or in any form. And so the Auditor General report would have failed to address major issues, and issues that would have been addressed, they were addressed selectively based on the region, the ministry, or the agency, either included or excluded, for purposes best known to the Office of the Auditor General. These are things that need to come to attention of the persons. And once we do that, then we are going to be able to look in another direction as it relates to what is happening. Now, I want to very quickly look at, as we close, we are about to close. We are about to close. And this is the last document I want to read here. It says recent contracts. I'm not going to call the name of the contractor. This is from memory. Billions of emergency works in Region 3. Works can be found. Somebody building mansion for somebody and what have you from NDIE. Some person with father and son, or son and father, whoever is it. Different contracts and billions of emergency works, most of which can't be found. Billions of dollars in contract, and this person had $750 million loan from GNCB. Loan were never repaid. Billions of dollars, another one, billions of dollars in contract, right? Again, no site of where these contracts are, no location. Accounting department of a particular agency would have rearranged individuals of one religious faith, hold all the senior positions for approving and issuing payments. Somebody and his multiple companies with billions of contract, bids are double than the other bidders, but still get the work. Again, somebody with billions of contract, billions of dollars contract, right? And so there's a company of Eccles supplies equipment and materials, sole source, geotextile, 4 times that of competitors with billions in contract. And so this is the situation as we close, as it relates to what is happening and as it relates to how things continue to fall apart. Viewers, you would have recognized that during this, from the very beginning, during this program, we would have had a number of interruptions. And once we have these programs, we are quite aware that these interruptions are going to come. But we are so quite aware that we are bringing you the facts. And the facts that we bring are from reliable sources. And so I want to just close by bringing it to your attention, as brought to us, a number of vehicles, heavily tinted vehicles, are parked in front of the residents in different communities, in different parts, in different regions. And so for Region 2, it is alleged, and I give you three number plates. I don't know if they are heavily tinted vehicles. They didn't give color of vehicle, but they give number. And I'm going to repeat these numbers 2 times so you know. The first one is PPP 9857, allegedly heavily tinted vehicle parking in front of persons, residents, and what have you, and they are afraid. I repeat the number PPP 9857. Another number again, same story, park, heavily tinted park, and PMM 3400. PMM 3400. And then another allegedly heavily tinted PJJ 2312. PJJ 2312. And these are all allegedly heavily tinted vehicle, allegedly with these number plates, parking allegedly in front of residents, and they are very afraid because they are there for long periods of time. Long period of time. And so with that, we want to say how grateful we are for you being with us on this program tonight. We want to thank you very much, and we look forward for you submitting to us information that you think would be good for public consumption and for the things that are happening, and to continue to let us understand that things continue to fall apart. Viewers, thank you very much. Have a good night. God bless you.